I'm going to show you 3 ways to run Python code. 3 ways because there are many different ways, and I'm going to pick 3 exemplarily to show you different complexity and different conveniences. So the first way to run a piece of Python code is to go to the terminal, open a new terminal, navigate to the directory that I want to work in, so in this case my desktop, and then open a plain text file. So I use the VI editor and I call my file test, say test term, a file in the terminal, and the important thing is to get the extension .py. So if I do that, I can type in the code that I want. So classical code to use is print hello world. So print is a function that's followed by round parentheses, and within single quotes you can type the text that you want to see on the screen. It's hello world here, and all I have to do now is I have to save that file, and if I exit I can then directly type a command to execute the code. The command is Python 3. I also need to tell which file I want to have, which is testterm.py. And if I do that, in my terminal window I can see the output, and the output is hello world. So it works, and also more complex output can be done. But it's the bare necessities. It's the most primitive way to do and run a piece of Python code. A much more sophisticated way is to use a software environment which is Visual Studio. Just click the welcome away. From File I select New File, which opens a new file, and I type my code. So I type print with my round parentheses and single quotes. The text is hello world, and this is all that I want. If I save that file now, I give it a name which is call it visual.py. The extension must be .py, then it will know to use the Python compiler. So having testvisual.py, I save that. It shows up on my terminal again. It's the second file now on my desktop, and I can execute this code by here on the top right of this window. I can see that little triangle, which in a media player might be the play button. In this case, it is the execute my code please button. So if I press on it, this takes a short while, and then the outcome is displayed at the bottom of the file in a new window, similar to the command line window, where it says it has executed the file. The output is in white hello world, just where my cursor with that arrow is now, and it tells you how long it took to execute. You can also see the highlighting of different pieces of code in color, and there will be many more conveniences that you discover when you get to learn this environment. However, I'll click it away. I'll delete those files that we have created so far to show you the third way. And the third way is the one that I like most for exploring and for learning to code. And this will now be using the environment called JupyterLab. So within the Anaconda window that you get from installing the Anaconda distribution of Python, there's JupyterLab, and clicking on the launch button, this should open in a new window in your default browser. So you can see I'm still again on my desktop folder. So within that folder I want to open a new notebook, and of course it's going to be a Python 3 notebook. What you can see is by default this was now opened as untitled.ipynb. So the extension is different and we leave it as such. IPYNB stands for Interactive Python Notebook. We're just going to use it. Untitled, if we don't like it, if you hover over that highlighted name here on the navigation section of that window, it offers you the possibility to rename that. And I call it test again. I just leave it as test because by extension I will immediately know what environment that has been created in. There's a little gray box here called a cell. If I highlight the cell by clicking on it, this is where I put in my code. So I type my print, round parentheses, single quotes, hello world. And this code can be executed by pressing Shift and Enter on your keyboard at the same time or consecutively. If you do that, the code is executed and the output is shown in the same window just below the cell that contains the code, and it's indeed hello world.